In this video, we're going to be talking about foam rolling. One of my favorite things in the world. I literally do not go a day without using this guy, and especially now that we're all maybe a little more sedentary than usual, it's a good tool to have at your disposal, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways I like to use it. So I'm going to start on my back. I'm going to kind of work my way down the back body for these first few things, starting with just a nice thoracic stretch, essentially a nice arch for the upper back. So I'm placing the roller around my upper back towards the bottom of my rib cage, and then from there just taking some nice slow arches over the roller. And it's really exactly what it looks like. I'm just trying to create that nice arching stretch in my spine to, counter any hunched positions I may find myself in the rest of the day. Your roller does not have to be in this exact spot on your back either. Wouldn't generally recommend going much lower, but you could certainly go a little higher. This last thing I'm doing with my hips here, it's just a nice add-on if you're flexible enough to get your head on the ground. I'm just lifting and lowering my pelvis a little to get some extra feeling of stretch and decompression in my lumbar. From there, I'm going to go into more of just a standard massaging action for my back. So I've only got my head and chest lifted up to a neutral position, lifting my hips up really any amount off the ground, and then using my legs to push and pull my body back and forth. And ultimately just trying to cover as much surface area on my back as possible. You can certainly stop at any point, readjust the roller so you can hit different spots. So from there, we're going to start working our way down the chain, that posterior chain of the body. So moving down to my glutes. Easiest way to do this is to literally sit on your roller. I like to have both my hands behind me, feet in front, so I've got 4 sturdy points of contact with the floor. And then from there, it is essentially just rocking back and forth on the foam roller, getting it to cover as much area of your glutes as possible. If you'll notice, I even do a little pelvic tilting with it. Here, I'm just showing a one-sided variation. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee, just allows the hip to open up a little bit, and then leaning over to that side. Again, essentially just doing the same thing. You're rocking back and forth, you're giving yourself a massage. The beauty of foam rolling is it absolutely can be rocket science if you want it to, but it does not have to be at all. At the end of the day, you can use some intuition, place the roller on a part of your body, get it to move back and forth in a comfortable way somehow, and that's going to give you some really great fascial release, right? Whether you're really hyper-analyzing it or not. Here I've moved further down to my hamstring. So now I've got both hands behind me still, but then only one foot on the floor, so I still feel like I'm really supported. Pelvis is just a little lifted off the ground, and then rocking. Now, if you're comfortable with this sort of thing, I would encourage you to rotate around a little bit so you can get that medial and lateral hamstring as well. But if you just stick to the center of your hamstrings and just straight down the leg, that's great as well. And then moving further down to my calf and soleus. Again, hands behind me, one foot down, rock it back and forth. If you're comfortable and your wrists and shoulders can adjust, add a little bit of rotation. Get on that medial and lateral side of your calf as well, just so you really get all the nooks and crannies. That also brings up a good point about wrists and shoulders. A lot of what I'm going to show you is supported on the hands to some extent, so just be careful about your weight distribution. However, if your wrists and shoulders can't quite take some of those previous variations, particularly for your hamstring and calves, here's a second option. If you stand up on your knees and stick the roller as close to the back of your knee as you can, from there you essentially just sit down on it. and then you use the weight of your own body to get that same kind of release. I'm even gonna add a little rock side to side with it so I get some cross fiber massage. But for this one, you're really just trying to use your own body weight to create that sense of release. Be careful with that amount of weight. You can always put your hands down on the floor in front of you to take some of the weight off. Listen to your body. If something hurts, then it's too much. You just need to back off of it a little bit. Foam rolling should never feel uncomfortable. I'm gonna skip the left leg so I can move on to show you a little bit of quad rolling. So this is my preferred way to do it. Again, it does require supporting yourself in some way on the floor. I've essentially got one of my thighs up on the roller, both forearms on the ground. It's almost reminiscent of a forearm plank in a way. It just moves back and forth. Again, you'll see me rotating a little bit to either side so I can get more medial and then lateral quad. I'm gonna get a little creative right here. This is totally optional. You do not necessarily need to be bracing a foot against the wall. I happen to be a little more on the flexible side, so I can comfortably manage these types of positions. However, if you can't, I will momentarily be showing you a little variation so you can still get some quad love in there. This is also great to do like right before a workout. As you can tell, there are a lot of almost like plank-esque positions, so it does get the body a little warm as well. All right, so if for whatever reason that previous position was either too extreme or uncomfortable, here is quad rolling option 2. You're simply gonna find a comfortable seated position, either in a chair on the floor, place your forearms on the roller, apply a little bit of pressure, and then roll it out. Again, does not have to be rocket science. Clearly, as long as you put a little bit of pressure and roll back and forth, you're getting good fascial release. Now, lastly, I'm gonna show one of my favorites. I get very tight in my chest in front of my shoulders. So this is how I like to take care of that with the foam roller. Find a wall. You're gonna lean the roller right in the center of your chest, right along your sternum. Reach your arm out to the side, apply a little body weight, and then you're going to roll it down across your chest, front of the shoulder, and then even down your bicep a little bit if it's comfortable. So you're really working your way across the pec, a little anterior delt, down into the bicep a little, all things that get sort of locked and tightened the longer you spend in maybe a sedentary or seated position. All right, y'all, that kind of concludes a little full body foam roller situation. I hope that was helpful. Bye.